I knew my life was about to shatter the second my mother smiled at me like she actually loved me. Not the polite, tight-lipped smile she used at church. Not the performative one she flashed in family photos. No, this one was warm, soft, almost proud. And that terrified me, because Judith Carter only smiled like that when she was about to ruin someone. "Sweetheart," she said, brushing invisible lint off my shoulder like we were one of those normal mother-daughter duos you see at Target arguing over throw pillows. "I'm so glad you could make it work this weekend." Make it work. Like I hadn't driven 4 hours every single Saturday for the past 12 years to see my grandmother. Like I wasn't the only one who showed up when it actually mattered. I forced a smile back, my stomach tightening. Wouldn't miss Grandma's birthday. Her eyes lingered on mine for half a second too long. Measuring. Calculating. Yeah. Something was coming, and I was walking straight into it. 3 weeks earlier, I was still living my quiet, predictable life in a small town in upstate New York, Millbrook. The kind of place where everyone knows your business before you do, and the biggest drama of the week is whether the high school football team wins on Friday night. I ran a small landscaping design business out of my apartment. Nothing glamorous. My office was basically a drafting table squeezed between my couch and kitchen counter. My bathroom cabinet held more soil samples than actual toiletries, but it was mine. Every inch of it. Every client I landed, every dollar I made, I built that from scratch. No family money, no connections. Just me, dirt under my nails, and a stubborn refusal to quit. Which, according to my mother, made me difficult. That was her favorite word for me. Difficult. Not successful. Not independent. Not resilient. Just difficult. In my family, labels stuck harder than truth. My older sister Lauren, she was the perfect one. Engaged to a finance guy named Tyler who wore Patagonia vests and said things like, "Circle back." In normal conversations, she posted Sunday brunch pics with captions like, "Grateful for everything?" and actually meant it. My younger brother, Ethan, he was easygoing. Which really meant he never picked a side, never spoke up, never rocked the boat. Even when the boat was clearly sinking, and me. I was the problem. The one who asked questions. The one who didn't smile and nod. The one who, at 22 years old, made the mistake of noticing something I wasn't supposed to see. I still remember the moment like it was burned into my brain. I'd stopped by my mom's house to drop off a birthday card. She wasn't home, so I let myself in. Because back then, I still thought I belonged there. There was a bank statement sitting on the kitchen counter. I didn't go looking for it, it was just there. Open, waiting, joint account, Margaret Carter and Judith Carter, my grandmother and my mother. At first, it didn't seem weird, until I saw the withdrawals. 3 of them large ones, $5,600, $4,000, all within 2 months, and the notes: kitchen renovation, appliance upgrade, contractor deposit. I frowned. Because I'd been at my grandma's house the weekend before. Her kitchen hadn't changed in 20 years. But my mom's, brand new granite countertops. Stainless steel everything. I remember standing there, staring at that paper, my heart doing this slow, uneasy thud in my chest. And then I did the stupidest thing I could have done. I asked. "Mom," I said later that evening, trying to keep my voice calm, reasonable, normal. "Does Grandma know you're using her account?" Silence. The kind that stretches just long enough to become dangerous. Her face changed right in front of me, like a mask snapping into place, cold, offended. "How dare you?" she said quietly. "I'm just asking. You don't question me?" She cut in, her voice rising now. "You don't go through my things, and you certainly don't accuse me of something like that." "I didn't accuse you." "You're jealous," she said, louder now. "That's what this is. You've always been jealous of this family." And just like that, the narrative was born. Within a week, everyone had their version of the story. Lauren called me, voice tight. "Why are you trying to start drama?" Ethan shrugged when I brought it up. "You know how Mom gets. Just let it go." My cousins stopped inviting me to things. Family group chats went silent when I texted. And suddenly, I wasn't the daughter who cared. I was the one who caused problems. The one who made things uncomfortable. the one who couldn't just be grateful. It didn't matter what the truth was, because my mother controlled the story. And in our family, her version was the only one that existed. Everyone believed I only visited my grandmother because I wanted her money. Not because I loved her, not because she was the only person in that entire family who actually saw me. But my grandma, she never believed it. Not for a second. She never said much about it back then. Never confronted my mom directly in front of me. But she watched. She noticed. Every visit, every silence, every shift in how I was treated. And while my mother was busy rewriting the narrative, my grandmother was quietly rewriting the ending. I just didn't know it yet. Fast forward to 3 weeks before her 90th birthday. My mom called me out of nowhere, which, by itself, was already suspicious. "Hey, sweetheart," she said, her tone dripping with fake warmth. "I'm planning something big for Grandma's birthday. I could really use your help." I nearly laughed. 12 years of being iced out, and now suddenly I was useful. "What do you need?" I asked carefully. "Catering, flowers, the slideshow, things like that. You're good with creative stuff." "Creative stuff." I swallowed the jab. "Sure. Great," she said. "Lauren and I will handle the speeches and seating." Of course they would. "I'm not giving a speech," I asked. A pause. Small. Deliberate. "It's more for immediate family," she said. I almost said it. The thing sitting right on my tongue. What am I then? But I didn't, because I already knew the answer. That night, I called my grandmother. "Did Mom tell you about the party?" I asked. She chuckled softly. "She did? Are you okay with it?" A pause. Then, gently, "Just come, baby. That's all I want." Something in her voice made my chest tighten, like she knew something I didn't. Like she was already 3 steps ahead in a game I didn't even realize we were playing. And for the first time in years, I felt it. That quiet, creeping sense that something big was coming. Something that was going to change everything. I just didn't know yet that it would start with an empty box and end with 7 words that would burn my entire world to the ground. The moment my sister laughed on that voicemail, I knew exactly what my mother was planning. And somehow that made it worse. Not because I didn't expect it, but because they weren't even trying to hide it anymore. It happened on a random Thursday night, while I was sitting cross-legged on my apartment floor, surrounded by peony samples and half-finished design sketches. I'd called Lauren to ask about the florist. Something simple, something normal. She didn't pick up. It went to voicemail. But instead of the beep, I heard voices. Her voice. And a man's. Tyler's. "Mom's doing the gift thing at the party," Lauren said, her tone low but excited, like she was sharing gossip over overpriced cocktails. "It's gonna be so good." Tyler chuckled. "What do you mean?" "She's finally putting Emily in her place," Lauren said. "Emily, that's me." My stomach dropped. Tyler laughed again. "Damn, what's she gonna do?" Lauren's voice dropped to a whisper. "She's giving her nothing." A pause. Then, laughter. Actual laughter. "She finally gets what she deserves." Lauren added. "Nothing." The voicemail beeped. But I didn't move. I just sat there on my hardwood floor, phone still pressed to my ear, staring at nothing. There's something uniquely painful about hearing people talk about you like you're not even human. Like you're a problem that needs to be corrected. A lesson that needs to be taught. And the worst part? She believed it. My own sister believed I deserved to be humiliated. I replayed the voicemail 3 times. Not because I wanted to hurt myself, but because I needed to be sure, because part of me, some stupid, hopeful part, kept thinking maybe I misunderstood, maybe there was context, maybe it wasn't as bad as it sounded. It was, exactly as bad. I saved the voicemail. I don't know why. Actually, that's a lie. I knew exactly why. Because something in me shifted that night. For the first time in years, I stopped trying to prove them wrong. And started preparing for what was coming. 2 weeks before the party, my grandmother asked me to take her to an appointment. She didn't explain. Just told me to pick her up Tuesday morning like usual. I assumed it was a doctor's visit. It wasn't. Halfway down Route 9, she pointed right instead of left. "Take this turn," she said. I frowned. "Grandma, the clinic's the other way." "I know." She replied calmly. We're not going to the clinic. We pulled up in front of First National Bank, old building. Brick. The kind of place that still smells like paper and time. I parked and looked at her. Grandma, what are we doing here? She gave me that look, the one that said she already knew something I didn't. I need to take care of something, she said simply. We walked inside together. Well, she walked. I hovered. She disappeared into a private office with a bank officer, leaving me in the lobby flipping through a magazine about luxury lake houses I'd never afford. 15 minutes later, she came back out. Same calm expression. Same steady steps. But something had changed. I could feel it. When we got back to the car, she didn't start talking about the weather or ask about my latest project like she usually did. Instead, she reached into her purse and pressed something into my hand. Small, cold, metal. I looked down. A key, flat, brass, old, the kind of key you don't see much anymore. What's this? I asked. Keep it in your purse, she said. In case you need it. In case I need it for what? She turned her head and looked straight at me. Not soft, not vague, sharp, intentional. In case you ever need to open what's yours. My breath caught. What do you mean? But she just leaned back in her seat like the conversation was over. And that was the thing about my grandmother. She never rushed the truth, she let it come to you when you were ready. Or when it was too late to stop it. The drive back was normal. Too normal. She pointed out the new mailbox the Hendersons installed, complained about how country music isn't what it used to be, hummed along to an old Patsy Cline song on the radio. But once, just once, she went quiet and said something that stuck with me. You remind me of your grandfather. I smiled. I never even met him. He didn't care about shiny things either, she said. I glanced at her. What does that mean? She just smiled faintly. You'll understand. That night, I sat in my apartment staring at that key for almost an hour. Turning it over in my fingers. Trying to make it make sense. A safety deposit box, a storage unit, something else, and then it hit me. The timing, the party, the voicemail. The way my mom had suddenly pulled me back into the planning process after years of shutting me out. This wasn't random. It was orchestrated, and whatever my grandmother was doing, it was connected. The next few days felt like waiting for a storm you know is coming but can't stop. Every little thing started to click into place. My mom suddenly limiting my visits with grandma. She needs rest. Don't come this weekend. Maybe give her some space. Individually, they sounded reasonable. Together, it felt like she was building a wall. Slowly, strategically. And if what Lauren said on that voicemail was true, the party wasn't just a birthday celebration, it was a performance. A public statement. A final chapter in a story my mother had been writing for 12 years. Emily is the problem. Emily is ungrateful. Emily doesn't deserve what the rest of us have. And in front of everyone, family, friends, neighbors, she was going to prove it. With an empty box, I started running scenarios in my head. If I go, I get humiliated. If I don't go, she controls the narrative anyway. See, she didn't even show up. That's who she is. Either way, I lose. Unless I don't play my part. 4 days before the party, my mom called a family meeting at her house. I almost didn't go. But I needed to see it for myself. The dining table was covered in printed schedules, seating charts, menu options. Like she was planning a wedding instead of a birthday. Lauren sat there scrolling through fonts for the program, like it was the most important decision of her life. Ethan leaned against the counter eating grapes, completely detached from reality as usual. My mom stood at the head of the table like a CEO running a board meeting. After dinner, she said, tapping the paper, we'll move into speeches and then the gift presentation. My stomach tightened. Presentation? I asked. She smiled. That same smile. The one from earlier. I'll be distributing some of your grandmother's heirloom jewelry, she said. Lauren perked up immediately. Ethan stopped mid-chew. And what decides who gets what? I asked. Oh, it's symbolic. My mom said lightly. Lauren gets the diamond ring. It represents commitment, especially with her engagement. Ethan gets your grandfather's gold watch. Legacy, you know. Of course. Of course they did. And me. I asked. Her smile widened. Something special. Lauren let out a quiet laugh, covering her mouth. Ethan suddenly found his grapes very interesting again. What is it? I pressed. It's a surprise, she said sweetly. I looked around the room. No one met my eyes. Not one person, and in that moment, I understood something crystal clear. This wasn't just about humiliation. This was about hierarchy. And I was at the bottom. After my mom stepped out to take a call, I grabbed my bag. Lauren leaned over. You should just be grateful you're included at all, she whispered. I froze. My position? I asked quietly. She shrugged. You know what I mean? Yeah. I did. And for the first time, she said it out loud. I drove straight to my grandmother's house that night. Didn't even think about it. She was on the porch like always. Rocking chair. Blanket over her legs. Glass of iced tea sweating beside her. I sat down next to her and told her everything. The voicemail. The plan. The something special. She didn't look surprised, not even a little. I know, she said calmly. I blinked. You know. Lauren told me last week? She said. She was bragging. My chest tightened. And you're okay with this? My grandmother set her glass down slowly. Your mother thinks she owns things that were never hers, she said. A chill ran down my spine. What does that mean? She turned to me, her eyes sharper than I'd ever seen them. Promise me something. Anything. Whatever happens at that party, she said, gripping my hand, you don't react. What? No tears, no arguing, no scene, she continued. You wait. Wait for what? Her grip tightened. For the truth to do its work. I stared at her, confused. Uneasy, but something in her voice. It wasn't fear. It wasn't doubt. It was certainty. And that scared me more than anything. Because my grandmother wasn't hoping things would work out. She knew they would. I nodded slowly. I promise. She leaned back in her chair like that settled everything. And 3 days later, sitting in that ballroom, holding an empty box in front of 60 people, I realized exactly why she made me promise. When my mother picked up that third box, the entire room shifted. Not loudly, not dramatically, but in that subtle, electric way you feel right before something goes very, very wrong. I could feel people turning in their seats. Forks pausing mid-air. Whispers dying in throats. Because everyone knew. They didn't know what exactly was about to happen. But they knew it wasn't going to be good, and somehow, all eyes still found me, like they were waiting, watching, judging. Judith Carter thrived in rooms like that. Spotlight on her. Control in her hands. Narrative locked and loaded. She stood at the front of the ballroom, framed by a slideshow of my grandmother's life playing behind her. Photos I had spent hours editing, scanning, perfecting. Every memory curated, every detail perfect. For her performance. Lauren, she said, voice trembling just enough to sound emotional. She opened the first velvet box. A diamond ring caught the light, throwing little prisms across the white tablecloths. Because you're building a future, my mom said. Because you understand commitment. Lauren stood, already crying. Or pretending to. Honestly, at that point, I couldn't tell the difference. She rushed forward, hugging my mom like she'd just been handed the crown in some twisted family pageant. Applause filled the room. Loud, comfortable, safe. Because that made sense, that fit the story. Then came Ethan, the second box. A gold watch, heavy, polished, impressive. Because you carry the family name forward, my mom said. Ethan smiled awkwardly, slipping it on like he wasn't sure if he deserved it or not. But definitely wasn't going to question it. More applause. More nodding. More approval. And then silence. Because there was still one box left. Smaller. Older. No ribbon. No shine. Just sitting there like an afterthought. Or a setup. I felt my heartbeat in my ears. Slow. Heavy. Loud enough I was sure the people next to me could hear it. My mom didn't rush. Of course she didn't. She picked up the box slowly. Deliberately. Letting the weight of the moment build. She started walking toward me. Every step echoing. Every eye following her. And suddenly, I wasn't sitting at table 6 anymore. I was on a stage. Under a spotlight I never asked for. She stopped right in front of me, close enough that I could smell her perfume. That same floral scent she'd worn my entire childhood. The one that used to mean comfort. Now it just made my stomach turn. "And for you," she said sweetly. That voice. That fake honey-coated voice she used when she wanted to sound kind in front of other people. "My dear Emily." The room leaned in. Breath held. Waiting. She placed the box in my hands. Light. Too light. And right then I knew. I didn't even have to open it. I already knew. But I figured. She continued. Just loud enough for everyone to hear. "Since you've always said material things don't matter." A pause. A smile. This would be the most appropriate gift. The room was dead silent. I opened the box. Empty. Not just empty. Worn. Like something had been taken out of it a long time ago. Faint indentations in the velvet. Ghosts of something that used to matter. A few people laughed. That uncomfortable, awkward kind of laugh people make when they don't know if they're supposed to react. Someone actually whispered, "Oh my God." I heard it. Clear as day. My fingers tightened around the box. My chest burned. My throat closed. And for a split second, I almost broke. I wanted to stand up. I wanted to say something. Anything. Expose her. Call her out. Ask her in front of everyone how she could possibly think this was okay. But then, a hand. Warm, frail, steady. My grandmother. Under the table, her fingers closed around mine. And in one small, deliberate movement she slipped something into my palm. Paper. Foldy. I froze. My entire body went still. The noise in the room faded, the laughter, the whispers. My mother's voice. All of it disappeared, because suddenly, none of that mattered anymore. I closed my hand around the paper. Tight. Like it was the only thing anchoring me to the ground. "Thank you, Mom," I said, flat, calm, controlled, the exact opposite of what she wanted. For a second, just a second, her smile flickered. Like she didn't know what to do with that reaction. Because this was supposed to be my breaking point. The moment I snapped. The moment I proved her right. The difficult daughter. The emotional one. The problem. But I didn't give her that. I gave her nothing. And somehow, that rattled her more than any outburst ever could. The room slowly exhaled. Conversation started again. Forks scraped plates. The DJ awkwardly started playing music like he was trying to smooth over something he didn't understand. But I wasn't there anymore. Not really. Because in my hand was something more important than anything that had just happened. I stood up quietly. "Excuse me," I said to no one in particular, and walked out. The hallway felt too long, too quiet, like the air itself was heavier. I made it to the restroom, locked the door behind me, and leaned against it. My hands were shaking, not from the humiliation, from anticipation. I unfolded the paper, slowly, carefully, like it might disappear if I moved too fast. 7 words, written in my grandmother's handwriting, steady, certain. "Everything real is already in your name." I stared at it, once, twice, 3 times, trying to understand, trying to breathe. Everything real already, in my name. My mind started racing. The key, the bank, Calloway. The way she told me to wait. This wasn't random. This wasn't a comfort note. This was something else. Something bigger. At the bottom of the paper, there was a phone number. And one word. Calloway. My pulse spiked. The attorney. The one she mentioned. "He has everything." Everything. I pressed the note against my chest, my breath uneven. Out there, in that ballroom, my mother was celebrating. Thinking she'd just won. Thinking she'd just sealed the narrative for good. But in here, in this tiny bathroom with terrible lighting and cheap hand soap, everything had already changed. I didn't fully understand how. Not yet, but I could feel it. That quiet shift. Like the ground had moved beneath all of us. And only I knew it. I folded the note carefully. Tucked it into my wallet, right behind my driver's license, safe. Hidden. Untouchable. Then I splashed cold water on my face. Looked at myself in the mirror. Same face. Same life. But something in my eyes was different. Stronger? Calmer. Like I wasn't waiting to be chosen anymore. I walked back into the ballroom. Back into the noise. The laughter. The fake smiles. And I sat down like nothing had happened. Because for everyone else, nothing had. But across the room, my grandmother was watching me. Not smiling. Not reacting. Just watching. The way you look at someone. When you already know they're going to be okay. And for the first time in years I believed it. The rest of the night passed like a blur. People asked if I was okay. I said I was fine. My mom kept glancing at me, waiting for the breakdown. The phone call, the explosion. It never came. Because I wasn't playing her game anymore. And she didn't even realize it yet. But she would. Soon. Because those 7 words. They weren't just a message. They were a countdown. And Monday morning, everything was going to come crashing down. By the time my phone hit the 3rd ring Monday morning, my hands were already shaking. Not from fear. From knowing that something big, something irreversible, was about to be confirmed. Calloway and Associates. A woman answered, calm and professional. I swallowed. My name is Emily Carter. My grandmother, Margaret Carter, told me to call. A pause. Not the kind where someone checks a schedule, the kind where something clicks into place. Oh, she said softly. Yes, Miss Carter, we've been expecting you? My heart skipped. Expecting me. Like I wasn't just some random granddaughter calling in. Like there was already a seat waiting for me at a table I didn't even know existed. Can you come in today? She asked.
Yes.
2 o'clock. I'll be there. The drive felt longer than it actually was. Every mile stretched out, heavy with anticipation. I kept glancing at the passenger seat. At the empty jewelry box sitting there. I don't even know why I brought it. Maybe because it was proof. Maybe because it was the only honest thing my mother had ever given me. Empty. Exactly what it claimed to be. About halfway there, my phone rang. Mom. Of course it was. I stared at the screen for a second before answering. Hey, I said. Emily, she replied, voice controlled, careful. We should talk about the party. There it was. Not an apology. Not concern. Damage control. I thought you handled it well, she continued. Translation. You didn't embarrass me. Thanks. I said evenly. I just want you to understand it came from a place of love. I almost laughed. Love. Public humiliation is love now. The box was symbolic, she added quickly. I know, I said. A pause. She didn't expect that. Good. We should get lunch sometime, she said. Sure. I replied. Talk soon. I hung up. And just like that, something settled inside me. Because that was it. That was the last, normal conversation we were ever going to have. She just didn't know it yet. Calloway's office sat above a hardware store. Old brick building, 2nd floor, no elevator. Just a narrow staircase that creaked like it had secrets. Inside, it smelled like paper, coffee, and time. The kind of place where things were handled quietly. Permanently. A woman in her 50s greeted me at the front desk. Emily, she asked with a small smile. I nodded. I'm Louise. He's been waiting for you. Again. That word. Waiting. Like this wasn't a coincidence. Like this had been set in motion a long time ago. She led me down a short hallway and opened a door. Thomas Calloway stood as I walked in, mid-60s. Gray hair. Sharp eyes behind reading glasses. The kind of man who doesn't waste words. Or time. Ms. Carter. He said, extending his hand. Please? Sit. I did. He closed the door behind him, and then, he placed a thick folder on the desk. Slowly. Deliberately. This, he said, resting his hand on it, has been 12 years in the making. My breath caught. 12 years. He nodded. Your grandmother established an irrevocable trust in September of 2013. My brain tried to process that. Irrevocable. 12 years? Meaning? I asked quietly. Meaning, he said, leaning forward slightly. Once it was created, the assets inside it no longer belonged to her. My chest tightened. They belong to the trust, he continued. And the trust has one beneficiary. I already knew. Somehow I already knew. Ooh. I asked anyway. His eyes held mine. You? The word landed like a shockwave. Not loud, not explosive, but powerful enough to shift everything. I whispered. He nodded. Yes, Emily. I leaned back in the chair, trying to breathe. Trying to understand. This includes the Carter family home, he continued. My head snapped up. The house, I asked. Yes, 40 acres, transferred into the trust over a decade ago. My heart started pounding. But my mom's name is on the deed. Calloway shook his head. Not anymore. I blinked. What? Your grandmother removed her name quietly, he said, years ago. Before finalizing the trust. I stared at him, speechless. She also established a separate investment account, he continued, funded gradually over time. How much? I asked, my voice barely steady. Just under $500,000. I exhaled sharply, not because of the money, because of what it meant. 12 years. 12 years of planning, of protecting, of preparing. For you, he said gently. I swallowed hard. What about the jewelry? I asked. He gave a small, knowing smile. The real collection is secured in a safety deposit box at First National. My hand instinctively moved to my purse. The key. The items distributed at the party. He continued. They're fake, I said. He nodded. High-quality reproductions. Commissioned years ago. I let out a breath that felt like it had been stuck in my chest for days. She knew. I whispered. She planned everything. Yes, he said simply. I looked down at my hands, at the faint imprint where I'd gripped that empty box so tightly. She let it happen, I said slowly. She let my mom humiliate me in front of everyone. Calloway didn't flinch. She trusted the truth would reveal itself, he said. My jaw tightened. That doesn't make it hurt less. No, he agreed. It doesn't. Silence filled the room. Heavy. Real. Why didn't she tell me? I asked finally. I spent years thinking I was alone. Calloway leaned back slightly. She struggled with that, he admitted. But she believed if you knew too soon, you would confront your mother. I let out a bitter laugh. Yeah, I would have. And your mother, he said carefully, would have found a way to dismantle everything before it was secure. I closed my eyes. Because he was right. At 22? I would have exploded. At 25, I would have fought. At 30, I still would have tried to prove something. And my mother, she would have twisted it, destroyed it, spun it into another story where I was the villain. So my grandmother waited. Took the hit. Let me think I was alone. So she could make sure I never actually was. She told me something. Calloway added quietly. I looked up. She said, I can't change my daughter, but I can protect my granddaughter. My throat tightened. I had to look away. Because that broke me more than the empty box ever could. I sat there for a long moment. Then finally asked the question that had been sitting in my chest since the party. What happens now? Calloway folded his hands. Now, he said calmly, we wait. For what? For the truth to surface. I frowned. What do you mean? He gave me a knowing look. Your sister is engaged, he said. Which means she'll likely take that ring to a jeweler. My eyes widened. And when she does, they'll tell her it's fake. Wes. A chill ran down my spine. And your brother? I asked, if he has that watch appraised or cleaned. Calloway said, the same thing will happen. I sat back slowly, processing. They're going to find out on their own, I said. Yes. And my mom will have no control over it. Exactly. A strange feeling settled in my chest. Not victory. Not revenge. Something quieter. More powerful. Relief. Because for the first time I didn't have to fight for the truth. I didn't have to prove anything. I just had to wait. I stood up, my legs still a little unsteady. Thank you, I said. Calloway nodded. And Emily. I paused at the door. If your mother contacts you or threatens legal action. She already has, I said. He gave a small smile. Then call me before you respond. I nodded and walked out. Back down that creaky staircase. Back into the sunlight. Back into a world that looked exactly the same, but felt completely different. Because now I knew, the empty box wasn't the end of the story. It was the beginning. And somewhere out there, the truth was already moving. Quietly. Relentlessly. Like a storm rolling in. And when it hit, it wasn't just going to expose my mother. It was going to destroy everything she's spent 12 years building. The first crack in my mother's perfect story came faster than I expected. 48 hours. That's all it took. I was standing in line at Starbucks, half listening to the barista butcher someone's name into, Emily, when my phone lit up. Lauren. Not a text, a call. And not just one, 6 missed calls. Back to back. My stomach dropped. I stepped out of line and called her back. She picked up before the first ring finished. What did you do? She snapped. No hello. No build-up. Just accusation. I blinked. What? The ring, she said, her voice sharp, panicked. What did you do to the ring? My chest went still. There it was. The moment Calloway predicted. I didn't do anything, I said calmly. Don't lie to me, Emily, she shot back. I took it to a jeweler this morning and… She stopped. Like she couldn't even say it out loud. And what? I asked. Silence. Then, they said it's fake. The word cracked. Not just anger. Fear, confusion. Her entire reality had just been yanked out from under her. I leaned against the brick wall outside, staring at nothing. I guess it is? I said quietly. You knew? She demanded. I didn't answer, because technically I hadn't. Not before Monday. But now, yeah, I knew everything. Emily, she said, her tone shifting, softening just a little. If this is some kind of joke. It's not a joke. Then explain it, she snapped. Mom says a lot of things. I cut in. Another pause. Longer this time. He's a professional jeweler, Lauren said, almost to herself. He ran tests. He checked the stone. He said it's cubic zirconia. Cubic zirconia. I almost smiled. Because my mother, she wouldn't even know what that meant. She just knew, looks expensive. Maybe you should ask Mom, I said. I did, Lauren said. She said the jeweler doesn't know what he's talking about. Of course she did. She told me to go to a different place. Lauren continued, so I did, and they said the same thing. There it was. Confirmation. Truth, knocking louder. Emily, Lauren said, her voice cracking now. What is going on? For the first time in my life, my sister sounded small, not perfect, not confident, just lost. I almost felt bad. Almost. But then I remembered the voicemail. She finally gets what she deserves? Yeah. This was that moment. What did Mom tell you the ring was? I asked. Our grandmother's diamond. She said automatically. And you believed her. Why wouldn't I? She snapped. It's family jewelry! I exhaled slowly. Because here's the thing about lies. They only work when people want them to be true. I don't know, Lauren, I said. Maybe because the kitchen she renovated, with Grandma's money, never actually got renovated. Silence. Dead silence. What are you talking about? She asked carefully. And just like that, we were back there. 12 years ago. The thing that started all of this. You remember when I tried to tell you Mom was taking money from Grandma's account? I said, her tone hardened immediately. That's not what happened. It is, I said. I saw the statements. You were snooping. I was paying attention. You were making accusations? She shot back. And now you're holding a fake ring, I replied. That landed hard, because suddenly, it wasn't just my word anymore. It was evidence. Real, tangible, sitting in her hand. This doesn't prove anything, she said, but her voice didn't have the same conviction. No, I asked. Then why are you calling me instead of Mom? Another silence. Longer, heavier. Because she knew the answer. Because for the first time, doubt had entered the story. I have to go, she said abruptly. Yeah, I replied. You probably do. She hung up. I stood there for a moment, staring at my phone. Heart steady, breath calm. Because this wasn't chaos. This was order. Things falling into place exactly the way they were supposed to. I went back inside, grabbed my coffee, and walked out like it was any other Tuesday. Because on the outside, it was. But under the surface, everything was shifting, and then, right on cue, my phone rang again. Ethan, I answered. Hey, I said. Hey, he started, and I immediately knew, his voice, low, uneasy. He knew too. I took the watch in, he said. Of course he did. For what? I asked. I don't know, he admitted. To get it cleaned, I guess. The guy opened it up and… He stopped. And… I pressed. It's not gold, he said flat. Numb. It's plated. There it was. Second confirmation, second crack. And the inside? I asked. He said the mechanism's cheap. Ethan added. Like not vintage. Not valuable. I closed my eyes for a second, because even though I expected this, hearing it still hit. Did you talk to Mom? I asked. Yeah, he said. She said the guy's wrong. Of course she did. What do you think? I asked. A long pause. I think, he said slowly, I think something's off. Something's off. That was Ethan's version of a breakdown. Yeah, I said. Something's off. Silence settled between us. But it wasn't empty. It was shifting. Like we were standing on opposite sides of something that was finally starting to crack open. Did you know? He asked quietly. I hesitated. Then answered honestly. I found out Monday. Another pause. You didn't tell us. I tried to tell you 12 years ago, I said. That one landed. He exhaled slowly. Yeah, he muttered. You did. And just like that, something changed. Not fully. Not dramatically. But enough, because for the first time, Ethan wasn't dismissing me. He wasn't brushing it off. He was listening. What are you going to do? He asked. I looked out at the street, at people walking by, completely unaware that my entire family was unraveling in real time. Nothing. I said, nothing. I'm going to wait. For what? I thought about my grandmother. Her voice. Her certainty, for the truth to do its work. He didn't respond right away, and when he did, his voice was quieter. He's going to lose it, he said. He. Not Mom, not Judith. He. Like even he couldn't say her name right now. Yeah. I said softly. She is. And as I hung up I realized something. For 12 years, my mother controlled the story. Every version. Every detail. Every perspective. But now, the story wasn't hers anymore. Because the truth. It didn't need me to fight for it. It didn't need me to explain it. It was already spreading. One crack at a time. And the next call. It wasn't going to be confused. Or quiet. Or questioning. It was going to be explosive. Because when my mother realized she wasn't in control anymore, that's when everything would burn. The explosion came at exactly 9:12 p.m., not a minute earlier, not a minute later. I remember because I was sitting on my couch, laptop open, pretending to work while my mind replayed every conversation from the past 2 days. Lauren's panic. Ethan's quiet realization. The cracks spreading exactly the way Calloway said they would. And then, my phone lit up. Mom. I stared at it for half a second. Then answered. What did you do? She demanded. No greeting. No warmth. Just rage. Cold, sharp, controlled. But barely. I leaned back against the couch. Hi Mom, I said evenly. Don't play games with me, Emily, she snapped. Lauren just called me hysterical, saying her ring is fake. Ethan is saying the same thing about the watch. What did you do? There it was. Not confusion. Not doubt. Accusation. Because in her world, if something went wrong, it had to be me. I didn't do anything? I said calmly. Bullshit, she shot back. You've always been jealous. Always trying to tear this family apart. I let her talk, didn't interrupt, didn't react, because this was familiar territory, her script, her rhythm, her control. You embarrassed me at that party, she continued, her voice rising. You sat there with that attitude? My attitude. I cut in. Yes, she snapped. That look on your face, like you were above everything. I almost smiled. Because she felt it. The shift. Even if she didn't understand it yet. You gave me an empty box in front of 60 people, I said. What expression were you expecting? That was symbolic, she said quickly. Off what? A pause, just a fraction of a second. But it was there. Enough to tell me she didn't have an answer. Off your values, she said finally. You've always acted like you're better than material things, so I honored that. Be humiliating me. I didn't humiliate you. She snapped. You humiliated yourself by making everything uncomfortable. Just like you always do. There it was. The rewrite. The twist. The moment where she takes reality and bends it until it fits her version of the story. Only this time, it wasn't working. Mom. I said quietly. What? She snapped. The ring is fake. Silence. Real silence this time. Not strategic, not controlled, just empty. The watch is fake, I added. Another beat. And you gave them to Lauren and Ethan in front of everyone. Her breathing changed. Subtle. But I heard it. Faster. Shallower. You don't know that, she said, but her voice wasn't as strong. I do. How? She demanded. And there it was. The question she didn't want to ask. Because the answer would crack everything open. I stood up slowly, walking toward the window. Looking out at the quiet street below. Because I went to see Mr. Calloway on Monday, I said. The silence on the other end was instant. Total, like the air had been sucked out of the room. What? she said finally. I have the trust documents, I continued. The house, the land, the accounts. My voice stayed calm, steady, even. Everything real, I said, is already in my name. Nothing. No yelling, no denial, just nothing. And somehow, that was worse. You're lying, she whispered, but it didn't sound like an accusation. It sounded like hope. Fragile, desperate. I'm not, I said. This is exactly what I mean, she said, turning to Lauren and Ethan. The attitude, the defiance. Mom. Lauren cut in, her voice shaky. Can we just get to the point? There it was. Not on her side anymore. Not fully. But enough. My mother's jaw tightened. Fine, she said. The point is that there's been a misunderstanding. I almost smiled. A misunderstanding. 12 years of lies reduced to that. You too? She continued, looking at Lauren and Ethan. Were given meaningful gifts. They're fake, Lauren said. Not loud. Not dramatic. Just firm. The room went still. My mom blinked. Once. Like she hadn't expected Lauren to say it like that. They're not fake, she replied quickly. They are, Ethan said this time. Quiet, but solid. I had it checked. My mother's eyes darted between them. Calculating. Repositioning. You went to the wrong places, she said. Those people don't know what they're talking about. Two different jewelers said the same thing. Lauren cut in. So either they're both wrong, or you are. Silence. Sharp. Heavy. And for the first time, my mother didn't have an immediate response. You don't understand, she said finally, her voice tightening. Those pieces are symbolic. No. Lauren snapped, louder now. You said they were real. You said they were grandma's. My mom hesitated, just for a second, but it was enough. Because they saw it. That flicker. That crack. You lied, Ethan said. Flat, direct, no cushion. And just like that, the word was out, not from me. Not from some accusation years ago, from them. Her easy kids, her perfect ones. My mother straightened, her voice sharpening again. I did not lie, she said. I made a decision about how to distribute. You humiliated Emily, Lauren said suddenly. The room froze. I didn't move. Didn't react. But inside, something shifted. Because that, I never expected. Lauren glanced at me, then back at our mom. You gave her an empty box, she said, her voice cracking. In front of everyone. My mother scoffed. She's always claimed she doesn't care about material things. That's not the point? Lauren snapped. Silence. Because now, this wasn't about me anymore. This was about them realizing they weren't special. They weren't chosen. They were just part of the story she controlled. And that story was falling apart. Where is the real jewelry? Ethan asked. Direct, simple, dangerous. My mom's eyes flicked to me. There it was. The shift. The suspicion. You told them, she said. I didn't respond. Emily, she said louder now. Did you tell them where it is? No. I said calmly. Then how do you know? She demanded. I tilted my head slightly. I know a lot of things now. That hit. Because she heard it. The difference. The confidence. The certainty. What did you do? She asked, her voice dropping. The same question she asked before. But this time it wasn't anger, it was fear. I didn't do anything, I said. Grandma did. Silence. Heavy. Final. What does that mean? Lauren asked. I took a breath. Slow. Steady. And then, I stepped forward, not aggressively, not dramatically. Just enough to shift the room. To answer your question, I said, looking at all of them now. The real jewelry is in a safety deposit box. My mom inhaled sharply. And the house? Ethan asked. I held his gaze. It's in a trust. Lauren frowned. What trust? The one Grandma set up 12 years ago. My mom's face went pale. Not angry, not defensive, pale. Because now, she knew, they all did. And who owns it? Lauren asked quietly. The room held its breath. Waiting, for the answer that would change everything. I looked at her. Then at Ethan. Then finally, at my mother. And said it. I do. Silence exploded. Not loud. Not chaotic. Just absolute. Like the entire room had been emptied of air. That's not possible, my mom whispered. But it didn't sound like before. No conviction. No control. Just disbelief. It is, I said. You're lying. She said again, but weaker this time. I'm not. You don't understand legal documents. I understand my name. I cut in. And it's on all of them. That did it. That was the moment everything broke. Lauren stepped back like she'd been hit. Ethan ran a hand through his hair, pacing now. This doesn't make sense. Lauren muttered. Why would Grandma? Because she saw everything? I said quietly. That landed. Because they knew, deep down, they knew. What happens now? Ethan asked. I looked around the room. At the house. At the people who spent years making me feel like I didn't belong in it. And for the first time, I realized something. I didn't need to fight for a place here, because it was already mine. But that didn't mean I wanted it like this. I haven't decided yet, I said. My mom let out a short, bitter laugh. Oh, please, she said. You think you can just walk in here and take everything? I already did, I replied calmly. That shut her up. Instantly, because for the first time, she had nothing left. No leverage, no control, no story to twist. Just truth. Standing right in front of her. And it wasn't going anywhere, but the decision. What I did next. That was still mine. And something told me, whatever I chose, it wasn't just going to change my life. It was going to define it. The moment my mother stepped toward me, I knew she was about to cross a line she couldn't come back from. Not the quiet, manipulative lines she'd danced around for years. Not the subtle rewrites or behind-the-scenes control. No, this was going to be loud, public, final. You're not taking this house, she said, her voice shaking, not with weakness, but with fury barely held together. I didn't move. Didn't blink, didn't give her anything. I'm not taking anything, I said calmly. It's already mine. That did it. Her composure snapped. This is my home, she shouted, the word echoing off the walls. I've lived here for 20 years. I raised you here. You controlled people here, I said quietly. Silence, sharp, cutting. Because that wasn't something she could twist. That's what you think? She asked, her voice dropping, dangerous now. I don't think, I said. I remember. Lauren shifted uncomfortably. Ethan stopped pacing. Because now, this wasn't just about money, or jewelry, or legal documents. This was about truth, the kind that doesn't stay buried once it surfaces. You remember wrong. My mom snapped. I remember the bank statement, I said. I remember asking you about it. I remember what happened after. Her jaw tightened. You invaded my privacy. I told the truth. I cut in, and you punished me for it. I protected this family, she shot back. No, I said, my voice steady, unshaken. You protected your image. That landed, hard. Because it was true. And she knew it. You think you're better than us, she said, grasping now. You always have. No. I replied. I just stopped pretending. Silence. Heavy. Final. Lauren looked between us, her voice small now. Mom, did you really take money from Grandma? There it was. The question that started everything. 12 years late, but finally asked out loud. My mom didn't answer right away. She looked at Lauren. At Ethan. At me. Like she was calculating, weighing. Trying to find a version of the story that would still work. But there wasn't one. Not anymore. It was my account too, she said finally. Weak. Thin. Barely holding together. That's not what I asked, Lauren whispered. Another silence. Longer this time. More honest. I used what I needed, my mom said. There it was. Not an apology, not regret, just justification. Ethan exhaled sharply, running his hands over his face. Jesus, Mom. Lauren shook her head slowly, tears slipping down her cheeks. You lied, she said. Again, that word, louder now, heavier, real. I did what was necessary. My mom snapped. For what? I asked. No answer. Because there wasn't one that didn't expose everything. I built this family, she said instead. I kept everything together. You controlled everything, I said. And the second someone questioned you, I let the sentence hang. She didn't finish it. She didn't have to. Because we all knew, you turned them into the enemy, Lauren whispered. Her voice broke. Because now she saw it. All of it. Not just what happened to me, but what it meant for all of us. You don't understand, my mom said again, softer now, but still clinging to something. I did this for you. For all of you. No? Ethan said quietly. You did it for yourself. That was it. The final crack. The one that didn't just split the story, it shattered it. My mom looked at him like she didn't recognize him. Like he just stepped out of a role she wrote for him. You don't mean that? She said. I do, he replied. Silence swallowed the room. Because for the first time, no one was backing her up. No one was playing their part, no one was protecting her version of the truth. And without that, she had nothing. I took a slow breath. Because this was it. The moment. The decision. Not about the house. Not about the money. But about me. Who I was going to be, after all of this. I'm not kicking you out, I said finally. All three of them looked at me, surprised, even my mom. You're not? She asked, cautious now. No, I said, because I thought about it. The power, the control, the easy way to win. And it didn't feel right. Not like this. This house isn't worth that, I continued. Not worth becoming her. Not worth carrying that same weight. But that didn't mean nothing changed. You can stay? I said. For now. My mom straightened slightly, relief flickering across her face. Too soon, but, I added. There it was, the shift. The trust stays exactly as it is, I said. Everything is legally mine, and that's not changing. Her jaw tightened again. Second, I continued, there are no more lies. No more stories. No more rewriting what happened. Silence. If anyone asks, I said, you tell the truth. My mom scoffed. You don't get to dictate? I do, I said calmly. And that was the difference. No anger. No shouting. Just certainty. Because I didn't need to fight anymore. I'm not asking you to admit it right now, I added, but I'm not covering for you either. Lauren nodded slowly. Ethan didn't say anything, but he didn't disagree. And my mom, she just stood there. Quiet. Still. Because for the first time in her life, she wasn't the one setting the rules. I'll be moving into the guest house next month, I said. That caught them off guard. You're not staying here, Lauren asked. I shook my head. No. Why? Ethan asked. I looked around the room, at the walls, the memories, the years of trying to belong somewhere that never really felt like mine. Because I don't need this house to prove anything, I said. And that was the truth, the real truth. Not the one my mom created. Not the one I tried to fight. Just mine. I'll handle the property, the land, everything, I added, but I'm not living in this. My mom laughed quietly. Bitter. You think you're free now, she said. I met her gaze. I know I am? Silence. One last time, but this one felt different, not heavy, not tense, just over. I turned toward the door. Not running, not escaping, just leaving. And as I stepped out onto that same porch I used to sit on as a kid, waiting to be seen, I realized something. I wasn't waiting anymore. Not for approval, not for love, not for a version of family that never really existed. I had the truth. I had my life. And for the first time, that was enough. Behind me, the door closed, soft, final, and I walked away with nothing in my hands, except something they could never take from me again. The truth.